Well, Chad, thank you very much for joining me on my newly launched YouTube series. So, how have you been keeping during this pandemic in 2020?
I've been doing what you're doing, man. I've been going online a lot. You know, you're doing YouTube now. I've been doing Twitch. We've all been doing Zoom meetings. It's a different world right now, but I think we've all been kind of doing the same things, parked in front of our computers and phones and trying to communicate with each other the best we can, right?
Yeah, exactly. Life has taken a toll. Instead of going around and seeing your friend, you just Zoom them.
Yeah, exactly. FaceTime chat, anyone? Yeah.
So, I'm going to assume as well, having the whole world go on pause for a while, you have lost out or been put back from many a role.
Yeah, it's been a strange year for that. You know, everybody's kind of pulled back, productions, TV, film, they've all had to pull back for a while until they could get stuff figured out. And some of them have, and it's really cool to see that some films and TV shows are back up and running. But it's definitely been a challenging year for actors. You know, what we do is face to face, you know, and with big groups of people with cameras. So it's definitely been different, but it's allowed me to explore some other creative avenues like Twitch streaming, Call of Duty, and you know, playing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons online and and stuff like that. So it's been, and voiceover work too, which has been really fun and new and different for me as well. So we're all finding a way.
Before we jump into questions of your movie career, you managed to successfully get into the Call of Duty franchise. That must have been quite awesome.
Yeah, it really has been. I've been a gamer going back to Atari and the original Nintendo, man, and all the way through. So to be a part of just any video game, you know, being a gamer is really has always been exciting for me. But to be a part of Call of Duty, to be able to do soldier work in a whole different kind of way has been a blast. It's, you know, one of the biggest, most successful video game franchises of all time, and I had a lot of fun working on it on and off for a year and a half, 2 years, and just to see it, you know, I think they just announced that a year later it's become the most successful best-selling Call of Duty of all time, and that's, you know, 17 different titles under the Call of Duty umbrella. So ours is kind of number one right now, and I suppose I have the pandemic to thank for that, right? Like a lot of people have been able to stay home and catch up on those video games and play. So it's been a really fun ride, and I hope to do more.
So the 2020 pandemic has sort of been a blessing for you to be, well, when it comes to gaming anyway.
You know, you got to find the silver lining in everything, right? So it's actually it's allowed me to play, you know, because I always knew Call of Duty was a big deal, but I've always been a story guy, and the Call of Duty games are really known for their multiplayer, the way people come together all over the world and play against each other. And so I really got introduced and baptized by fire, if you will, to that whole scene, that whole element of the game that makes them really popular and very successful. So I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty Warzone, a lot of multiplayer with fans and friends of mine, putting on the headsets and talking the battle chatter as we run around, trying not to get shot up. So it's been really fun, and I'm totally on the Kool-Aid at this point.
Is your handle by any chance anything Beckett?
Did I do what? Sorry.
Is your handle anything Beckett?
It actually is. You know, I've always been I've been a PC gamer forever. You know, going back to my first PC that I got in college. You know, playing games like Diablo and the original Grand Theft Auto and Baldur's Gate, and I love fantasy RPGs, World of Warcraft. So I've always had a console, you know, like an Xbox, PlayStation, whatever, over the years. But I never played them as much because I just always enjoyed the PC gaming aspect of that. But now I'm blanking on your original question as I'm geeking out about my nerdy experiences. What were you asking again?
Is your co-handle on Call of Duty anything Beckett?
That's where I was going. Yeah, so when I got an Xbox years ago, you know, they make you create an account and everything else. You pick your username, and of course, I didn't know, so I just used the username Sniper B Beckett, and so that's what I run around as playing Call of Duty right now. And the ultimate irony, Jeff, is is that I am so bad with a sniper rifle. Even though my username is Sniper B Beckett and I play an elite sniper in these movies, in the video game world, sniping is very hard, and my name is a total bold-faced lie.
Has anyone called you out on it?
Several times. They've noticed my lack of skill with the sniper rifle. I'm more of a shotgun guy. I'd rather get close and just, you know, boom, boom, and like hope for the best. In that way, I'm much better with a shotgun up close because it's really hard to miss with a shotgun. Whereas a sniper, you have to be quite precise. And let's just say it's not my cup of tea in that game.
I'm vice versa. I'm good with a sniper rifle and always die with a shotgun.
Right.
My shotgun level is 3. That's as far as it's got, 3. Level 3, I can't get it any further.
I'll tell you what, man, even just trying to level up a sniper rifle gun in the game is like impossible for me. So I'm like, we're just not going to do that. We'll stick to the assault rifles and shotguns and call it a day.
Before we end off the Call of Duty and gaming chat, is there any sign of your character reappearing in the franchise?
I've heard rumors and whispers, and you know, that's the video game world is full of rumors and whispers, but I can't imagine we wouldn't do another one. This Modern Warfare reboot that we did, as successful as it's been, it's the best-selling game of last year and all of this year as well. I can't imagine we wouldn't do more, but I have not got any official word there. You know, luckily it was revealed that my character, Alex Echo 31, he was, you know, the last you saw him when you played the game was that he died. Oh, you never saw him again in a chemical factory explosion. But then it was revealed right around March, April that Alex had lived. He had lost a leg below the knee, but he was still soldiering on. So, you know, your chances are always better if your character makes it out alive. That's what I found. So hopefully that leads to more Modern Warfare games and Alex making a return.
And if we now flip the cards and we go to the movie world, how did you get into the industry?
I had a weird roundabout journey in the industry, man. I went to college or university, as you say, across the pond, and I was a journalism major, and that eventually led me out to LA, and I was working as a publicist's assistant, and we had a lot of actors that were on TV shows and films, and you know, my day-to-day job was promoting their shows and their movies and everything else like that, setting up interviews and stuff like that. So that's how I got started in the entertainment industry. But just by being in Los Angeles and being exposed to that whole other side of the equation, you know, behind the camera, behind the scenes, you know, eventually I found my way into an acting class and just kind of dipped my toe in the water here and there, and certain projects and certain auditions seemed to stick. And next thing you know, I was on some sets and being able to work a little bit as an actor. So I was doing both for a long time. I was doing my, you know, day-to-day office job, you know, as a publicist and a partner at that firm. And then I kind of was able to get more and more traction in the acting world, and it just was so much more fun. And I just started to fall in love with it. So I've been kind of a full-time actor now for 6-7 years, and I'm very, very fortunate to be amongst the 1% of actors out here in this industry that get to do it full time and make enough of a living to survive off of it. So yeah, it's a weird way. I started in the industry first and then found acting, you know, and that's been my journey up to this point.
You also fell into the Sniper franchise. You were sort of sequel rebooting, maybe sequel rebooting, something like that. Yeah. How did that role come your way?
Yeah, so I you know, like so many people, I remember the first Sniper movie. It was 92, 93 with Tom Berenger and Billy Zane. I remember that movie. I remember seeing that on TV a lot when I was younger. And fast forward so many years later, I did a film called Lake Placid 2, which was a Sony NBC Universal co-production. And I was one of the young leads of that movie. And the producer of that movie was trying to get the Sniper franchise off the ground. You know, they did 3 movies with Tom Berenger mostly. Billy Zane was in the first one, of course. And then they kind of had the franchise sitting on the shelves for 10, 12 years. And they wanted to see if they couldn't, you know, reboot it in some way and get it back out there. And And so they tried to do that with Sniper Reloaded. And this producer thought of me. He thought I was a dead ringer for Tom Berenger. And it was originally, the concept was I would be a young Tom Berenger in Vietnam. That was the original concept when they came calling to ask if I'd be available and whatnot for this movie. But then that kind of got shelved for a couple years. We heard back later, and it was going to be Tom Berenger's son with a whole new character and everything else. And that movie was Sniper Reloaded. It came out in 2010, 2011. And so I was very, very grateful for that opportunity at that point in my career. And 10 years later, we've done 5 now, and hopefully we do another 5, 15, 20, whatever. I love these movies and I love being a part of them.
The first one was a really good, solid sort of story, especially when you're coming into something in like the 4th part. Were you ever sort of worried about taking on a character that was, well, the Beckett character anyway, like it's such a strong name, you know, where this franchise is concerned? Were you ever a bit like, what if like the fans think this, they think that, or were you just like, you know what, just go let my hair down and go with it?
Yeah, you know, it's always interesting because you know, I think on Sony's end, they were just kind of like, well, we'll put it out there as an experiment and see what happens. And so I think there was not a lot of expectations and not a lot of pressure. And luckily, fans around the world loved it and were happy that the franchise was back, even if it was, you know, going in a new direction. And so I never really felt much pressure outside of the regular actor pressure to show up and do your work and do it well and do the best job that you can. You know, I think there's a lot less pressure when you get to create a new character, as opposed to like if I had to go play a young Tom Berenger in Vietnam, that'd be a lot more pressure because that character is established. I'm kind of doubling a younger version of a really accomplished, you know, Oscar, Emmy winning actor. And that would have felt a lot more pressure to me as a young actor than being able to, you know, fill Brandon's shoes, you know, with my own, you know, creating that character with a director and really being able to originate that character. It feels a lot less pressure when you're doing a role like that than you know, trying to fill shoes that have already been well worn, you know.
You were, and I'm sure you were over the moon when you found out that I think it was the 2nd Sniper movie you done, you actually got to work with Tom.
Yeah, so on Reloaded, I got to work with Billy Zane, which was a blast. You know, he was such a fun guy, and you know, a guy I grew up watching, you know, and admiring as an actor. And he was fantastic to work with in that first one. But the second one brought father and son kind of back together, Sniper Legacy, and I got to work with Tom for the first time. And we had a great time on set. It was really cool to do some scene work with him, to just listen to his stories in the industry. You know, I grew up on Platoon and Major League and all these other movies, and of course the first Sniper movie. I loved that movie when I was a young guy and everything. So that was a real pleasure, and it was a real honor to be able to start exploring that father-son relationship with him in that second movie I got to be a part of.
And while you got to, as you said, they explore that relationship with Tom, well, with Tom's character, was it also fun sort of having the character of Brandon evolve?
That was, it's a really unique opportunity as an actor to not only be the lead of a franchise that keeps going, but every movie is a new opportunity to add, you know, a kind of a new layer. I like to call it a new layer of dirt under the fingernails. You know, he's lived a little bit longer. He's seen some more things. He's traveled the world. You know, he's maybe a little bit more weary and kind of beat up than the last one. So it's always been fun to take Brandon as, you know, the headstrong infantry Marine that he was, and then turn him into the elite sniper, and sending him around the world on all these missions and stuff like that. And, you know, I think each movie we try to make him a little dirtier, a little more wise, a little more experienced. Obviously, it's been 10 years, so I've got a few more wrinkles to add to the mix as well. So it's really fun to discover those new layers and those nuances you can add to the character. And you know, the Sniper Upper franchise has given me a really nice opportunity to kind of tease that out movie by movie to the point where we've got him, you know, Brandon now. So it's cool. Brandon's a totally different character now in Sniper Assassin's End than he was in Reloaded, and it's fun for audiences to see that evolution.
Do you ever bring any of your own like your own vices than to Brandon. Like if you hurt your shoulder, you'd be, like Brandon would have picked up the shoulder injury and stuff
Well,
like that.
I'm always getting banged up on set. I try to do as many of my own stunts as I can. So, if you see Brandon hobbling and wincing and kind of, a little bit crooked, that's probably because of like the stunt work I've been doing all the entire shoot. But yeah, it's fun. You don't want to have a whole movie of a guy leaning on a cane, right? So
Yeah.
you have to kind of, even though he got shot here and he got shot here and was almost killed there and broke this and that movie, it's like, you definitely want to see him, strong and ready and at attention to take on the new challenge and stuff like that. But yeah, he's got his battle wounds, literally and figuratively, and some of that is art imitates life. When you're seeing me limping around in these movies, because some of the stunt stuff is really fun, but also quite challenging, and it leaves a lot of cuts and bruises.
What would be your favorite? I know this is probably one of them questions you probably can't answer, but what would be your favorite entry in the franchise so far?
Oof, that's a tough one, man, and I always default to the last one we did, because I think we're always trying to strive to make each one better than the last, whether it's story, characters, or just, having done the dance over and over and over again, you learn some things. And so I always default to the last one. We released the fifth one that I've been a part of, Sniper Assassin's End, came out this past summer, and it felt totally different. And it was really cool in unique ways, and very different in unique ways. We kind of got back to a lot of the hand-to-hand combat stuff. We have Brandon, I don't think he's really in a uniform once in the entire movie. He shifted away from a strictly military career to being more of a special operative, who is called in for certain missions and tasks around the world. Sniper Assassin's End, we saw Brandon, he was on the run. He was a fugitive from justice. He was framed for a murder he didn't commit. So that was kind of a fun fugitive movie that had a totally different look and feel to it, as a result of the people over at Sony, and Oliver Thompson, our writer, and Kari Andrews, our director. So that was really fun. It leaned into a lot of throwback kung fu movies and martial arts stuff, and it definitely, I'm always happiest with the last one we put out there, because if nothing else, it adds a new wrinkle on the character and the franchise. But I feel like we're taking that franchise in a different direction right now with some really fun new co-stars and everything else. So hopefully we keep those going.
And as you were saying, life imitates art. When we first meet Brandon, he's playing games.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, that was a really fun opening of the movie. Brandon, got a rare 2-week vacation. We've never seen him in his downtime, right? So he's wearing a cutoff t-shirt, he's wearing just sweatpants, chilling at home with beer cans all over and empty pizza boxes. And what is he doing? He's playing a first-person shooter, like on his Xbox, talking smack to a 12-year-old, which is, I can attest to, that happens all the time when you play Call of Duty. So that was a really fun touch that kind of had worlds collide, in that opening scene where you meet Brandon in Sniper Assassin's End, for sure.
What sniper movie would have been the most challenging physically for you?
I'll tell you what, this one, there was a couple. Sniper Ghost Shooter had us on about 7,000 to 8,000 feet up on a mountain in May in Bulgaria. And even though it's May, it's very cold when you're 8,000 to 9,000 feet up there. And we were up there for a long time shooting, and just 12, 14-hour days coming down off those mountains, is just, down the ski lifts, and just everybody would just head to the hotel sauna and just thaw out. Some of those days were very challenging because you're just soaked to the bone in the freezing cold. This last one, I must have done 16 to 17 hours of, stunt choreography rehearsal on the side, on top of shooting, to get some of those more complex, especially martial arts influenced action sequences in there. And that was a challenge in itself. You never leave a sniper movie clean. You're always a little beat up, you're always a little bruised and battered and whatever else, which I just love it, because it gives you a bigger sense of accomplishment, and it gets you more excited to see it in the final version on the screen. But I don't know that one has been extremely harder than the others. You know, to do an action movie, to do it well and get everything in there that everybody wants to see on, you know, 3 weeks of shooting and a lot less money than most other action movies have. It's always going to be a challenge. So it's kind of hard to pick which one is more challenging than the others. Each one presents its own unique challenge in that way. So I would say they're all equally, equally challenging for sure.
Has the pandemic threw off any potential return of Brandon, or was there not one on the cards?
I mean, I haven't really heard, you know, very much or anything that I could say outside of a rumor of something coming back. But I think the last one did really well, and you know, audiences really seem to dig it. You know, I got to talk to a lot of really wonderful press outlets, including your site, like we always do on one of these movies, and really put the word out there. Audiences seem to respond in much bigger, better ways to this one because of the different look and feel. So I would think that it was a success, you know, maybe a little bit bigger and better than the ones in the past. I've had a lot of Call of Duty fans go and check out the sniper movies now. I've had a lot of sniper fans go and start playing Call of Duty, which has been really fun to engage with new fans and old fans alike on this new one. So I hope we do more. You know, I think there's a demand for them, and we have a lot of fun making them. So hopefully we can bring everybody a new one in 2021 or beyond.
When going into one of these movies, I've always wondered, do you sort of have to look at, for instance, if there was one coming out like there was in 2020, would you just have to look at the action movies of 2020 to see what is keeping the audience sort of hooked in terms of like action sequences? Or do you just be unique and be yourselves?
Yeah. Well, that stuff's, you know, a lot of that stuff is determined by Sony, the creative producers and the director and the writer, of course, and stuff like that. You know, I think that it's really, you know, we're a military action movie, so you got to have your guns and your gunfights and stuff like that. If you can mix up hand to hand in a really unique way and explosions and car wrecks and stuff like that, it's, you know, it's popcorn movie stuff. So as much as the classic action, you know, tropes you can get in there, the better. But they, you know, I would think that they looked at the trends of what's going on in terms of action movies and what audiences are really digging. But I just know that if you can give them a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, like get them that variety, everyone seems to be pretty happy at the end of the 90 minutes.
Another character of yours that I thought he was awesome, but it's sort of quiet on the front now, of Colt from it's Howler / High Noon, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it was originally called Howlers, but it got changed to High Moon, and that came out not this past summer, I believe the summer before. Yeah, that was a really fun independent film, you know, action horror western. I play an old gunslinger from the Old West in the modern day, hunting down werewolves. So no movement on doing another one of those, but we had a lot of fun making it. So we kind of hold out hope that we can get another one going one way or another. But that was a really fun departure from being behind the long gun to being up close and personal with double battle axes. That was really a super fun experience for me.
And there's so much potential as well. You could have threw any creature into the mix, really. It was just like,
yeah,
just like Blade,
yeah,
but a bit more badass. Had the knives and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the writer director, a good friend of mine, Josh Ridgway. You know, he's got ideas. You know, he's got ideas for prequels and sequels and all sorts of stuff like that. So hopefully one of these days, Colt will ride again.
I've also realized as well, for people all over who follow your social media will realize too, you've been posting workout pics. Has the pandemic seen you doing loads of home workouts?
At first, you know, everything shut down, including my beloved gym. I'm not much of a gym rat, but I do like to go, you know, twice a week, whatever else. It's my special time with my rock music and nobody else around. And I've always enjoyed being able to work out and staying fit, staying capable. So yeah, there was a lot of what I call Prism Workouts going on here in my apartment. You know, I got a small kettlebell and a couple of small dumbbells, and you're just doing a lot of push-ups and stuff like that because you're just kind of trapped inside. But luckily, some of the restrictions have opened up, and you can you know, go into the gyms and you can work out outdoors and find creative ways to do it and stuff. So it's been nice to go back and have equipment options rather than just my 3 things and a lot of push-ups. So I've tried not to completely fall apart this year. I would say I'm status quo, which is probably a good thing in a year like this.
Going by a recent pic, I've seen you're probably in one of the best shapes I've seen you in. You had like the whole 8-pack going on. You look like a Wolverine.
You know, I did a fun photo shoot with a buddy of mine, and you know, I had the long hair going and I was a bit scruffy and whatever. So we kind of did this like a poor man's Wolverine type photo shoot. And I had an editor friend of mine put in some adamantium claws and stuff like that. And, you know, I'm a huge Wolverine fan, man. I grew up on X-Men comics and Wolverine's always been one of my favorites. And I think Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, you know, for 15, 17 years, he's just always been one of my favorite characters, you know, brought to life on the big screen. So it was kind of a fun little cosplay, you know, tribute to Wolverine in my own very inadequate, you know, sense of the word. So it was really fun to do. But I appreciate your compliments. You know, it's in a year like this where all your routines have gone out the window. It's challenging to, you know, kind of hold on to the lifestyle stuff that you had before. You know, I play a lot of basketball. I always have. And I was in 2 leagues playing twice a week for a couple hours a pop. And, you know, that ended quickly in March. So that's kind of gone out the window. So I got creative and I started just swimming laps at the end of workouts and stuff. So we're all finding a way to keep the fitness levels high and our health in good shape this year. So luckily I haven't fallen too off the wagon there.
Well, you can tell when you're playing Call of Duty anyway. You're not eating snacks, are you?
It's mostly drinking, you know, water, but that's just, you know, it's between coffee and water mostly in my day to day anyway. So that much hasn't changed. Now, I know it's been hard for people trapped at home not to raid the cupboards, right, and raid the pantry and stuff. But I always keep mine mostly empty because I feel like if there's stuff in there, I'm going to eat it. So my policy is if it's not there, I can't eat it. So I've been able to, you know, avoid the COVID-15 or whatever you want to call it that most people had to go through by being stuck at home the entire time. So, you know, if I get hungry for a snack, I have to go make myself a steak or something. It's a lot less sexy than what most people snack on.
So with 2020 being such a weird year, you can't really interview someone and be like, so what projects were you working on this year? Because, you know, it's either you're putting on weight or you're just watching TV. So
or playing Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. So what would be your top 5 favorite movies that you have watched this year?
Oh boy, that's a good one. I got to be honest. While most people spent the pandemic, you know, binging on Netflix and catching up on shows and whatever else, I've certainly done that too. You know, I watched The Boys season 2, Umbrella Academy season 2. I'm a big comic nerd, so I love watching comic book TV shows and movies. But I got to be honest, between playing Call of Duty, which has occupied a lot of my time, and streaming that on Twitch, I've been doing a lot of reading, man. This has been an epic year for reading for me. I'm such a book nerd. I started the year off, I read all 8 Witcher books, which are phenomenal. You know, I just finished an amazing trilogy called The Emperor's Blades, and I'm reading another trilogy right now by Joe Abercrombie. And it's just, I've been reading and reading and reading and reading and reading, and I'm just like a kid in a candy store when I get to read my fantasy nerd books like that. I went back and read some of the classic Dungeons and Dragons novels, you know, and the Forgotten Realms, which have always, you know, something I grew up with. So it's been a really good year for there. So I haven't watched as much TV and film as probably most other people. It's been Call of Duty, reading a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, you know, manuals as I run these games now, and in my fantasy books, that's kind of preoccupied my leisure time, as they say it.
You said you're a big comic book fan. What would be your favorite comic book movie adaptation?
I still remember seeing the first X-Men movie, 1999 or 2000, Bryan Singer. I just remember going into that theater so excited because the X-Men were always, my favorite, one of my favorite comics, between that and the Punisher and a few others, Spider-Man. And I remember going to see that movie and just being blown away because that was the one that broke the mold open. They'd not really done comic book movies that were critically and commercially successful. And X-Men kind of paved the way to said, hey, you can take a comic property and it can be a really good movie and you can make money on it. And that just opened the door for Sony doing Spider-Man and then Nolan with Batman. And that was really opened the floodgates. And, that movie was just so cool, so well done. To see Wolverine on the big screen and Cyclops and Jean Grey. That's probably, those are like my X1 and X2 are probably my favorite comic book movies of all time. Although I really did love Logan and the Deadpool movies, and now we're spoiled for choice with the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, and your Guardians of the Galaxies and Thor, and it's been a fantastic time to be a geek, because I grew up with none of those movies existing, and now that I'm a grown up, they're just, you can't even watch them all. There's so many of them now. So those, but the first X-Men movies always left a really, really, really big impression on me, and are probably still my all-time favorites.
I take it then you're a hardcore Marvel fan?
I'm very open to DC. I read a lot of The Walking Dead, Image. I was first in line when Image Comics formed in the early 90s. All the heavy hitters, Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, they all moved and started their own comic book line. And I was buying Spawn, I was buying the Max, Savage Dragon. I was buying all those titles, Wildcats, by everybody. So I really have always been a comic book nerd. I just went and reread The Boys in advance of watching season 2 on Amazon Prime, which is such a great show. But that comic book is amazing as well. And Garth Ennis is my all-time favorite comic writer. Preacher's my all-time favorite comic. So yeah, it's always been a huge part of me, and it always will. And, hopefully, knock on wood, some sort of comic book, something comes my way in TV, film, or a video game, because it's always been a bucket list item for me.
While we're speaking of comics, my favorite hero is Batman. Love Batman.
Hard to argue.
Who would be your favorite incarnation of Batman?
Oh man, that's tough. I love Batman too. I've gotten to know and meet Jim Lee a couple of times. He's my all-time favorite comic book artist, and he's a really cool guy. I've met him a lot of conventions and stuff about town here. And Batman Hush, his kind of, he was the artist on Batman Hush, which is a 12-issue limited series. It's my all-time favorite Batman story. In terms of actors, I just love Christian Bale's Batman. I think everyone has been good and serviceable in their own right, but Christian Bale just kind of blew my mind, and I'm a huge fan of him anyway. I think he's just such an actor's actor who can do anything. And I really love those Nolan movies with Christian Bale, so I'll probably go with him.
I'm really old school. Mine's Michael Keaton.
Keaton, it's hard. Yeah, I mean that's pretty genius too. Tim Burton, Michael Keaton. That's the one that started it all, right?
I heard he's meant to be coming back, so that's sort of got me curious.
Honestly, seeing Michael Keaton back in action, I just watched the a couple years ago, the Spider-Man movie where he played the Vulture, and I love it. You got to find a way to work Keaton back into the Batman universe, man. He's just so good, and it's just such a nice throwback. I love when they pay tribute to the actors that originated these things. It's always a cool thing for the fans and audiences, and it's cool for the actors too.
I've also, as well, before it slips my mind here, if we switch back to your movie career, as 'tis the season, about this time last year, you had a Christmas movie out.
Yeah.
Man, was it fun putting down the guns and just going all family for once?
I gotta be honest. I love doing movies like that. I love the romantic comedy stuff, the rom-coms. I love doing the lighter fare. It's real right. It's hard on my parents and grandparents seeing me get killed on screen and stuff. So it's nice to do something where I'm actually playing the good guy and there's no guns involved, and it's good, clean fun, and no one has to shield their eyes for certain scenes, and it's not violent. So I always really enjoy those movies. And you know, the movie you're speaking of is called The Christmas Cabin, which is a charming little indie film that we put out there, mostly just two actors stuck together in a cabin. And of course, love finds a way in the Christmas season. So it was a really, really fun shoot with a great group of people. And I know that that's still making the rounds this year on Amazon Prime and stuff like that. So I really do. I like to dip my toe in those waters every once in a while, just make those feel good movies. But you're right. It's definitely a lot different than the sniper movies and your Call of Duty video games and stuff like that. So it's refreshing.
Yeah, I suppose every now and again you do need a breather, don't you? There's only so much people you can take out before you're like, I need to try something else.
Right. Yeah, it's no, it's always good to get in touch with your softer side. But you know, as an actor, it's nice because you get to flex a different muscle and just create new characters and just deal with different material, and that always makes you better and makes you more experienced, and you can find new ways to have fun and keep the career fresh and stuff like that. So yeah, any Christmas movie that comes my way, it's almost always a yes. Just because I really enjoy it, and people enjoy them. I mean, it's nuts. It's just like it's like there's an arms race between Lifetime and Hallmark and now Netflix, and everybody's got their slate of Christmas movies. It's Hallmark does 25 one year, and then Lifetime does 22, and then next year Hallmark's like, well, we've got 35 this year, and it's just absolutely nuts how popular these things are, and it's very, very cool thing to see.
Have you ever seen, like, on social media, the posters of just all the Christmas movies, and it's always a couple in a green sweater and a red sweater?
Yeah. No, I mean, some of those networks, man, they've got their requirements. You got to check all these boxes if you're going to be on their network in a Christmas movie. And I know because I've had friends write some, and I've been trying to help get them produced and stuff. And it's, you know, you got to work those checklists. Like, is this going to be for Hallmark? And it's got to be this. They just have a certain way of doing things, you know, and it is funny. The color schemes are consistent, and you know, the actors are pretty consistent and stuff like that. It's, you know, they know their audience, and people like to see these things, and so they're going to give it to them.
Yeah, if you haven't got the chiseled jaw, you're not making Hallmark anyway.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you got to be classically handsome, as they say. So,
So 2020, basically, it got in the way of everything. It put everything behind it. It put the brakes on the world, really. It really did. Planes didn't fly, cars didn't drive. There was a time where we were all just locked in the house.
mhm.
So what projects of yours have we missed out on that we can expect to see maybe next year or the year after?
Yeah, you know what's interesting is despite all the odds and all the ups and downs like you were describing, I actually just wrapped a movie last week, so I was able to do some work on a new sci-fi kind of thriller movie that, funny enough, Chelsea Edmondson, who was my female lead in High Moon, she's the star of this one, and her friends asked me to come aboard, so I did. And it was really cool. It's kind of more of an alien scientist type thing. It's something very different than what I've done before, but I was grateful just to be back on a set working. You know, hopefully, I think they're going to put some news out there soon. I can't say too much about it yet, but I was able to, at the end of 2020, find a little bit of work getting back in the saddle, which has been a lot of fun. And I also did, I did my first audiobook. So there's a classic, it's considered a modern classic Western novel that was written in the 60s. It's called The Power of the Dog, and it's being adapted into a Netflix movie with Benedict Cumberbatch and Kirsten Dunst. So I was able to do the audiobook narration, since they're kind of re-releasing the book in advance of the movie being made. So that was really, really fun. And I think that, you know, it's available for pre-purchase now. So I'll start putting that out there. But it was fun to have those kind of new experiences and then the old experiences. But, you know, for anybody who's looking to catch up on stuff, you know, I know that when Sniper Assassin's End came out, they also simultaneously released an 8-movie box set, the Sniper collection that you could get, I think, through Walmart or something like that. So you can literally get all 8 Sniper movies in one neat, tidy package, you know, for anybody who's really looking to give themselves an education into the movies that we've put out there. So I would go with that one.
until you release the next one. Then you have one single DVD.
Yeah. Then we've got to do another 8 movies before they release the 16 set, right? Yeah. Hopefully we get there.
I really hope the franchise does continue on, because it would be nice to see Brandon slowly evolve and turn into basically the grizzled old Rambo, which it's going to be fun for audiences, but it's going to be hell on your body trying to stay in shape.
I'll always do my best, but I love it, man. I've always joked for years, probably with you, that like I would love to do so many of these movies that, you know, Brandon has a son of his own, or he passes the baton or the long gun to his new protege and shows him the things that he's learned, and you know, we just make it a generational movie at that point. And you know, I can be sitting comfortable in the office calling the shots on the headsets instead of being out there getting my butt kicked by my next enemy. So I'm happy when that day comes. Hopefully there's more juice to squeeze out of Brandon, and we can get him dirty for quite a few more movies before he has to turn it over to somebody else. But that'll be a good problem to have if and when we get there.
Yeah, let's not retire him soon. Imagine seeing like Sniper Christmas special, just the green sweater and all going on.
I hope it's an ugly sweater. It's gotta be, right?
So would you ever sign on to like a Sniper series? Because I know there could only be like a point where people are like, right, we can't think of any more sort of movie ideas, and the butt could be releasing like 6 or 7 episode series.
I think that'd be wonderful. I mean, quite honestly, it's the industry's changed so much, you know, digital streaming and all these platforms springing up left and right. And, you know, the trend has really shifted away a lot to movies and wanting those long form TV shows, whether it's 6 episodes, 10 episodes, 13 episodes. People love, you know, those longer stories being told. And I know the marketplace is really hot for, you know, that type of storytelling right now. So I would love it if they adapted Sniper into a series, you know, to be able to tell a longer story than trying to get everything in 90 minutes every 2 years. I think it's great. You know, that would be something that I would love to be able to do and be a part of, because it allows you to dig deeper. You know, you get to learn more about these characters. You get to take a different ride with them. And I think that, you know, it's the golden age of television right now. Like, quite honestly, films are, you know, it's a harder and harder business. And, you know, you've got movies like ours and smaller, and then you've got your massive ones like your Wonder Womans, you know, and there's not really movies in between anymore. And the film industry has changed so much. And I think, you know, you're seeing more and more classic, you know, A-list film actors coming down and doing television series on, you know, Disney Plus and for Apple TV and all these other things, Amazon and whatnot. So it's a changing and shifting industry. And if they were able to take the Sniper, you know, franchise and turn it into a television series, I think that would be fantastic, and that'd be a lot of fun.
Going forward, well, obviously next year, if they were to say we're doing a new Sniper, and they asked your input, if they were like, right, we want you as Brandon to tell us where he is and what he'd be doing, what would your ideal scenario story be for a Sniper movie?
Oh boy. Yeah, I might have touched on this with the chat we had earlier this year, but I think that, you know, Brandon has been traveling the world, you know, taking out big bads and, you know, people who've caused problems internationally and stuff like that. And I've always thought that it would be interesting to, you know, explore this thing of domestic terrorism, you know, and there's been that word bandied out a lot this year in the US, you know, domestic terrorists and white nationalists and you know, people that are very scary. And it'd be interesting, I think, interesting wrinkle to see Brandon on his home soil and trying to solve a conspiracy or a plot or prevent it from happening. You know, I think that would be something very different. You know, we've seen him in Turkey and Bulgaria and Greece and, you know, all sorts of remote places all around the world, you know, dealing with, you know, problematic kind of evil characters. But I think something really interesting would be for Brandon to be, you know, here in the US, you know, on his home turf and trying to solve a big problem, and how complicated that could look as opposed to the international stuff. So that would be something cool to explore. And who knows? Maybe the Sony brass already has something like that in the works. That's above my pay grade, as I like to say, and they'll give my marching orders if that's the case.
What you described there sounds like they could take like the walk-in tool kind of spin, which would be fun. Clearly, you need Tom Berenger back.
We always need Tom Berenger back, man.
Always.
He's such a great part of this franchise. So I hope that he's always welcome to come back to the table.
I know the next one has to have you, Zane, and Tom all on a mission together, all like 3 in a row, taking boys out. That'd be cool.
It'd be a lot of fun. I love working with both those guys, and I was really happy on Sniper Ultimate Kill that we were able to do that. To have Tom and Billy and me all together there. It was the first time that Tom and Billy had played together since the original Sniper in '92. So it was kind of like a 25-year reunion for them. So, and I think it made the movie that much more fun and exciting, not only for fans, but in the execution of it and the storytelling of it. So I think those doors are always open. And again, it's not anything that I'm ever privy to, but it's always a pleasant surprise when I hear one or both of them are coming back into the fold to work with them.
So you mentioned previously about you just wrapped on a movie there with Chelsea Edmondson. Does that involve you killing aliens, or you working with aliens, or?
You're trying to get me here, aren't you? Yeah, I can't say too much. I really can't. But let's just say that you'll see me playing a character that you've probably never even seen before. I play a scientist, so I can give you that little bit of teaser. You heard it here first. That's breaking news. I play a scientist. It's not much to go on, but hopefully we can follow it up with more information soon.
I guarantee it, the scientist is ex-Special Forces.
That I can't say, but I will say this. If I got to cut my hair tomorrow for a sniper movie, the long hair from the pandemic made it into this movie. So, you're going to see a shaggier scientist than normally. You won't see the high and tight haircut scientist like you usually see Brandon Rocket in the movies.
Well, if it's a sort of a space movie, I've never seen a hairdresser in space, so it makes sense.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. So it's good. There might also be eyeglasses, but I'll leave that detail out until they reveal a photo.
So after your releases that are coming up, what's on the cards for you next year, if you know?
Yeah, I mean, next year, I hope that, there's another sniper movie in the picture. I've heard that there might be. I know that everybody is trying to figure out and has their fingers crossed that 2021 will just be easier, and smoother, and the pandemic will have calmed down. We'll have gotten control of this virus, and which will in turn make industry come back in a bigger, stronger way. There's that. I've been trying with some wonderful producing partners to get a TV show made. We're having some really nice, interesting conversations. So that could be a pleasant surprise for 2021, to be able to reveal some news about that. So, it's kind of more of the same, as an actor, you're job to job, and you're looking for that next, opportunity, that next meal ticket, that next payday. So it's been really, really fun to be a part of Sniper and all these other things, because they come back around every year or 2 years or 3 years. And that's just always a nice thing to look forward to again. But who knows, maybe they'll start working on a Call of Duty sequel, and I can get a surprise call about coming back to the fold for that. So, it's nice to be a part of franchises because they can surprise you out of the blue with coming back around with more. In the meantime, you're just trying to find whatever other gig you can do until you get a long-term gig. So, between the TV show and maybe more modern warfare and another sniper movie, there's definitely some prospects, but we'll see if any of them pop and which one pops first.
And as it's coming up to Christmas, have to ask you your top 5 favorite Christmas movies.
Ooh. Oh man, I was just having this conversation the other day. I'm not one for, the the sappier stuff. You know, I really like Christmas movies with a more of a fun angle. Obviously, Elf, Will Ferrell, modern classic Christmas movie at this point. I love Scrooged with Bill Murray. Die Hard, obviously. I'm not even going to get into that debate. Is it a Christmas movie or is it not? It
A
is. It
Christmas
is to
movie.
me.
It
That's all
is.
I can go. Yeah.
I had this argument with my wife.
Yeah, it is. It's you know what, for the type of movies that we like, it's a Christmas movie. You know, for
Exactly.
some other people, you can go watch Hallmark. It's fine. I love. Um, oh my gosh, I just thought of another one. It was just on the tip of my tongue, and now I've kind of forgot it. Maybe I don't love it that much since I can't remember. But yeah, Elf is great. Scrooge is great. Obviously, Die Hard. You know, I grew up on Home Alone, so Home Alone is always one of those great classic Christmas movies to watch. So I don't know. I don't know that I'm not as full as the Christmas spirit, I suppose, as most people. I still much rather go watch a comic book movie or a TV show or a fantasy series than than like
Yeah.
watch a whole day of Christmas movies. But I tell you what, I did just watch. Netflix has a wonderful documentary series called "The Movies That Made Us."
Yes.
The toys that made us, the movies that made us, and now they have a small limited series called the Christmas movies that made us, and it's like behind the scenes documentary on how these classic beloved toys or movies got made, and they interview the creators. Awesome. It's like 45 minutes. It's magical. And I did watch last year. They did one on Home Alone, and I just watched one they did on Elf, and really amazing behind the scenes stories, and it kind of makes me appreciate those movies even more.
I actually sounds bad on my part. I have missed all of them when they first came out. I was
Right.
like, I'm gonna watch these, and then I just never got round to it.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for kids, I would have missed the, you know that Kurt Russell one, The Christmas Chronicles.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
the
been meaning
kids,
to watch that, but I never did.
yeah, the kids love it. So
Mhm.
they'd be like, let's watch this, and that's the only way I've come across them, and they're great.
Yeah. They almost always are, you know, those, especially those animated movies and stuff like that. So it's fun. But you know, I grew up on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman and stuff like that. So, you know, I really, 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 well, you know, once you've experienced the best, man, like how can it get even better? You know, unless you're forced to watch a Christmas movie because you're kids. So you get older and you just get stuck on your favorites.
Here's a recommendation for you. I recently watched it as a Christmas movie. If you like dark and gritty stuff with some dark comedy in it, um, Fat Man with Mel Gibson.
Oh, yes, I saw the posters for that. I would totally watch that. That looks
That's cool. That's cool.
fantastic. I recently just watched Bad Santa for the first time, Billy Bob Thornton.
Yes,
Uh,
I've recently watched that too.
yeah, yeah, that was very, very entertaining. I feel like that's more my type of Christmas movie. You know, there's always a good message in the end, but it's hilarious and brutal and R-rated all the way through.
And then just to round off, getting to know you when it comes to movies, 5 movies that would sort of be your go-to and your faves, maybe.
Mhm.
Should we say faves?
Yeah, I would say all-time favorite Braveheart, hands down. Second all-time favorite movie is probably Fight Club. Uh, Brad Pitt, Edward Norton. Love that book. Love that movie. Um, I also had an affinity for Adam Sandler when he was Saturday Night Live star. So I love Billy Madison. It's just kind of a goofball movie that I can still quote pretty much word for word, having watched it so many times. Um, you know, Logan, the last, you know, penultimate Wolverine movie. Hugh Jackman just knocked it out of the park, like just absolutely incredible. That'd be a fourth. And then, you know, let's go with the Gladiator to kind of round out a top 5 list.
Gladiator, that's a really good movie. Been a while since I've seen it, but it's a really
I
good
know,
movie.
me too, right? Now that I'm thinking about it, I might have to go find it.
Did you hear they're doing a sequel or thinking of doing a sequel?
I think I heard rumblings of that. So, I mean, I'm all for it, honestly. Bring it. Swords and sandals, baby. I love it.
Well, Chad, thank you so much for coming to join me.
Always a pleasure, man, and excited to hear you're putting your wonderful interviews and chats with actors and your movie excitement out there in the YouTube space. That's it's very cool, and I think the fans are really gonna love it. So always honored and always a pleasure.
Likewise, myself. Like I said, you need to be the face of my website. You really do.
Hey man, I'll take the love where I can get it. Cool, man. And you've always been really, really kind and supportive of the Sniper movies, and hopefully we keep cranking them out and we have more reasons to talk.
Exactly. Man, I cannot wait to see what the future holds for you, and cannot wait to see you play a scientist with glasses
Coming soon.
to a theatre near you.
Right.
Thank you very much for coming on, Chad. I really appreciate it, man.
Of course, Jeffrey. Anytime, man. You got my number.
Right, take care, Chad.
Okay, Jeffrey. You too.
See you later.
Bye-bye.